On this layout, I'm using 4 different images, so I've decided to create a book that goes on my layout. Now, I've already matted my photos with white cardstock, a very thin white cardstock, and attached those to 4.5-inch high by 4 3/4 inch pieces of pattern paper to create my book. So I'm just going to show you how I'm going to put it together. I want to create a spine on the side of my book so that I can flip through the pages on my layout. So I'm going to start by scoring the pages 1/4 inch from the left side on each one. Now some of these papers I put together back to back. I've adhered them together, and this is one of them, so they're actually quite thick. So I'm going to have to work a bit harder to get that score line in there. Other papers, because I liked the pattern on the back side, I just left as one piece. So I'm just going to help it along a bit by bending it. So once all the pages of your book are scored, it's time to put it all together. I'm using my sewing machine to sew through all of the pages of the book. And it's really hard to see here, but I'm going just to the left of my score line so that it still folds open quite easily. So the score line is just to the right of the sewed edge. To finish off my book, I'm just going to take the ends of the thread here and tape them to the back side. You won't have to see this part because it's going to be adhered to the layout. For the background of my page, I've chosen a floral pattern from crepe paper, 12 by 12 piece of paper, and I am matting it with white textured cardstock size at 10 inches by 10 inches, just so I have that nice floral border, but I still have a crisp white background. So I'm planning on adding my book to the center of my layout here. And the first step I'm going to take is to create my title, because that's going to be the largest piece on the page. I've cut these letters out from the salted caramel paper from the True Stories collection. And I just love the color that they add on the page. I really did want to make this page kind of multicolored, so this is the perfect way to start off my color scheme. So at first I thought I was going to use liquid adhesive, but just in case I mess up on their placement, I'm going to go ahead and use a permanent double-sided adhesive because that will allow me some time to move it if I need to. I found these crepe paper puffy alpha stickers in my stash, and I like the gold that it adds to the layout. And I attached them to a Chamel collection 4-inch by 4-inch overlay so I could make sure that first they were going to stand out enough on my photo and to make sure I got their placement right. So as soon as I was happy with that, I went ahead and took them off of the transparent overlay and attached them directly to the photo. Next, I'm going to pull together some bits and pieces of embellishment from multiple of the Chamel collections. This is a stack of books from the first Chamel collection that I just love, and it really fits in with my story. And I'm going for a whimsical kind of feel to this layout. So I'm pulling in a bunch of different elements together. These flowers were cut from the Mercury paper from Starshine, and I'm just going to tuck them behind my book here. And I have some clouds. I just want to give it that whimsical, kind of dreamy feel. And an airplane. This one's transparent from the die cut pack. The idea is that when you read a story, you can be transported to anywhere. So that's why I'm pulling together the clouds, the hot air balloon, the plane. So both the clouds and the hot air balloon come from the Starshine collection papers. This one's called Rosetta, and the hot air balloon is called Spitzer. They're kind of perfect for cutting out little embellishments for your layouts. So I'm going to go ahead and start adhering these down. I like how they're hanging off the edge of my white cardstock as well. It gives it a more playful feel if you have things over the edges. Here I have a little card that I cut from a piece of crepe paper, pattern paper, and it says date due at the top. It almost looks like a library card at the back of a book. And I also have this little tag from another Chamel Starshine pattern paper. And I want to add some journaling to that to the inside of my book. So I'm just going to arrange them on here so that they look nice together. And I'm toying with the idea of putting it on the side, but that just doesn't feel right to me. I like my stack of books there. So I'm just going to figure out where I can put this tag inside my book. And I have a bit of negative space here next to myself in the photo. And I like at the bottom of this tag it says please handle with care. And since my daughter was a preemie, it kind of fits. So I'm just going to attach the date to that date due tag. And stamp that in black ink and just slide it behind my book here. Okay, next I'm going to attach my little mini album to my layout. And since it's quite heavy, I'm going to be using red line tape because it has a super sticky adhesive. It's kind of a pain to get the backing off, but it's definitely worth it in something like this if you want to hold something heavy onto your paper. And at first I'm just going to gently lay it down on my cardstock and not press it down so that I can double check and make sure that the measurements are all okay and I have it centered on my page. Once I'm happy that it is lined up and straight and centered, then I'm going to go ahead and push that adhesive down onto the cardstock. For a bit of added texture, I'm going to punch a hole in this tag and thread some twine through, and it's quite nice. It's pink twine, so kind of adds to the pink in my flowers and on my title. And if anybody has a suggestion on how to create a straight bow, I would love any suggestion that you could give me, because my bows always turn out kind of crooked, but I'm gonna just have to take it. Next, I'm reaching for my Starshine stamps, the clear stamps, and there are 3 phrases in there that look like they're written by a typewriter, and they are dream, discover, and explore. And so that definitely relates to my subject and my layout about reading. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp these words around my layout. So I'm starting off with dream, and because I haven't used this word before, I'm going to wipe it with my eraser. That just helps it to prime the stamp, and it helps it to stamp better the first time. So I always have a piece of scrap paper nearby so that I can try out the stamp to make sure I'm getting a good stamped image first. And I'm also going to try a couple of different other colors. So I'm starting with gray, and I'm going to stamp the word dream on my cloud there. And it didn't turn up that dark the first time, so that's the great thing about clear stamps, is you can just go over them again if you want it a bit darker. So I'm also going to stamp these on the top of my stack of books, but I want them to go in the order dream, discover, and explore. So I'm going to start out at the bottom with explore. And because my little mini album is there, I'm going to go ahead and open the page so that I don't accidentally get any ink on it. Next, I'm going to use discover. And then finally the word dream. And I'm also going to go up here on my other cloud in the top left corner and add the word dream too. So going back through my embellishments, I love these stickers, and I want to add another whimsical touch to the layout, so I chose this navy blue butterfly that is absolutely gorgeous because it has some stars on it as well. So that really fits with this layout. And then I also love these pale, they're kind of a pale yellow stars. And I love that they're not going to be too contrasting to my background. They're just going to add that little image to the back. And I always do things in either 3s or 5s. So I'm going to go ahead and do 5 stars on this layout. And they're going to run kind of in the direction that I have my embellishment, going from the top left to the bottom right. This piece of paper from True Stories is called Espresso, and it has so many nice little phrases on it. And this one says, focus on the happy. And that's totally fitting for this story because when we read my daughter her first story, we were in the NICU and, she was having a really hard time just trying to get off the ventilator and things like that. So this moment was all about me focusing on the happiness of having my daughter with me. So this is pretty perfect. And I'm just going to choose a place to put it, whether it's on the front of my album or on the inside. I kind of want to have it on the inside and just have the word happy stick out when you close the book. And that seems like a perfect place for me. And I'm just going to attach it with a mini stapler. I have these tags with vellum phrases from the True Stories collection, and this one says love and it's on a pink tag. So I'm going to put that into my book here. And the story that we read for the first time was The Tale of Peter Rabbit. So I just found an image of the front of the book on the internet and printed that out onto white cardstock to add it into my book. So I'm just going to adhere this little tag at the end. And I don't really want to over embellish this book because the rest of the layout has embellishment already, but this page feels a little dull to me, so I'm going to pull out the Chamel collection stamps, and this globe here says see the world. So I think that's quite fitting for this story. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that onto my pattern paper here. I'm going to rub the entire globe with my eraser to try to give it a really good stamped image. And before I stamp it on my pattern paper, because I just have one shot here, I'm going to try it out on my scrap paper that I have on my desk. So just to make sure that my page is flat, when I open it up, I put a piece of foam behind it. It's actually a piercing mat from Amy Tangerine. And that just adds a bit of height behind my page so I can get a good stamped image. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you enjoyed the process of creating a book to feature on your layout. If you try the same thing, please be sure to tag me or email me so I can see your project too. If you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to follow my feed so that you won't miss out on any future ideas on how to scrapbook your memories. Thanks and happy creating!